They laughed while firing her. But less than 24 hours later, that same maid walked back into the house as the owner of the company that paid for everything they had. And suddenly, no one was laughing anymore. For 3 years, Maria Alvarez worked quietly inside the massive Harrington mansion. She woke up before sunrise. She cleaned rooms bigger than her entire apartment, polished marble floors, cooked meals she could barely afford to taste, and washed dishes that cost more than her monthly salary. But Maria never complained. Not once. Because this job was everything. It paid for her tiny apartment, her younger brother's school fees, and her mother's hospital bills. So every morning she arrived early, head down, doing her job with quiet dignity. But in the Harrington house, kindness was not something money could buy. "Maria, you missed a spot." Mrs. Harrington snapped her fingers from across the dining room. Maria rushed over. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'll clean it again." Mrs. Harrington looked at her like she was invisible. "No, maybe you just don't understand what clean means." Across the table, Evan Harrington, the spoiled son, laughed. "Mom, relax. She probably grew up in a place where dust is decoration." The whole room chuckled. Maria forced a small smile and kept working. Because sometimes, silence is the only thing protecting your dignity. But what the Harrington family didn't know was that Maria had secrets, big ones, because every night after work, when she returned to her small apartment, she opened her laptop and studied finance, business law, corporate records. She wasn't just watching TV or scrolling social media. She was learning, preparing, waiting. You see, 3 years ago, before Maria ever became their maid, she had something very different. She had shares. A small investment her late father left her in a company called Harrington Industries. At the time, it seemed worthless, just a tiny percentage. But Maria held on to them, because her father had told her something before he died. Never sell what you don't fully understand. And Maria listened. But life became hard. Medical bills piled up, rent increased, food prices doubled. So Maria took the only job she could find quickly, cleaning. Ironically, for the very family whose company she partly owned. But she never told anyone, because that tiny ownership felt meaningless. Until one night, everything changed. Maria sat at her laptop like usual, reading company reports. But suddenly, she noticed something strange. Harrington Industries was collapsing. Debt, bad investments, hidden losses, and the CEO, Mr. Harrington himself, was secretly selling large portions of the company to stay afloat. The business empire everyone admired was actually falling apart, and no one in the family realized how close it was to disaster. But Maria did, because she understood the numbers. Then something unbelievable happened. A private investment group began quietly buying shares, huge amounts, millions of dollars, and Maria realized something shocking. If someone bought just a little more stock, they could become the majority owner, the person who controlled everything, the company, the board, the Harrington fortune, everything. Maria stared at the screen for a long time, her heart pounding, because she already owned a small piece, and if she combined it with a strategic purchase, she could gain control. But there was one problem. She didn't have the money, not even close, until the next morning. The day everything fell apart. Mrs. Harrington was furious. Guests were arriving for a charity dinner. The house had to be perfect. But when Maria accidentally dropped a glass tray, it shattered across the marble floor. The room went silent. Mrs. Harrington's face turned red. "That tray cost more than your entire year's salary." Maria apologized immediately. "I'm very sorry, ma'am. It slipped." "Enough!" Mrs. Harrington shouted. "I'm tired of your mistakes." "You're fired." Just like that. 3 years of loyalty gone in seconds. Evan Harrington leaned back in his chair, smirking. Good luck finding another job. And next time, maybe don't aim so high. Maria quietly removed her apron. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was calm. Thank you for the opportunity. Then she walked out. For the first time in 3 years, she didn't look back. That night, Maria made a phone call. Not to a friend, not to another employer, but to a private investment firm that had been buying Harrington shares because she had something they wanted: information, accurate financial analysis, proof that Harrington Industries was undervalued and could recover with the right leadership. At first, they didn't take her seriously. A maid? Advising investors? But Maria calmly explained the numbers, the hidden debts, the restructuring plan, the assets nobody noticed. And slowly, the silence on the phone changed, because she was right about everything. By midnight, a deal was made. The investors would buy the remaining shares, but Maria would become the majority shareholder representative, which meant one thing: she would control the company. The next morning, a black luxury car stopped outside the Harrington mansion. The security guard looked confused, because sitting in the back seat, wearing a simple, elegant suit, was Maria. Inside the house, the Harrington family was having breakfast, still complaining about the maid they fired. She was lucky we even hired her, Evan scoffed. Just then, the front door opened. Maria walked in calmly, but she wasn't carrying cleaning supplies anymore. Behind her stood 3 corporate lawyers and 2 board members. Mr. Harrington stood up angrily. What is this? You don't work here anymore. Maria smiled politely. You're right. I don't. One of the lawyers placed a folder on the table. Mr. Harrington opened it, and his face turned pale, because the document said something impossible. Ownership transfer. Harrington Industries majority stakeholder, Maria Alvarez. Mrs. Harrington gasped. That's impossible. Maria shook her head gently. No, it's just business. She looked around the mansion quietly. The marble floors, the expensive art, the gold chandeliers, all paid for by the company she now owned. Evan finally spoke. You're lying. Maria slid another paper across the table. Board authorization, effective immediately. Mr. Harrington had been removed as CEO. The room fell silent. The same people who once mocked her now stared in disbelief. Maria's voice remained calm. You fired me yesterday, but today, I own the company that pays for this house. No anger, no revenge, just truth. Then Maria said something no one expected. I'm not here to take your home. You can keep it. But the company will finally be run with honesty, with respect, and with leadership that values people, even the ones cleaning the floors. And with that, Maria turned and walked out. This time, every person in the room stood frozen, because the maid they once laughed at had just become the most powerful person in their world. Sometimes, the quietest person in the room is the one who understands everything. And sometimes, the person people underestimate the most is simply waiting for the right moment. Because respect should never depend on someone's job. And the biggest mistake anyone can make is assuming someone's uniform tells you their worth. If this story taught us anything, it's this. Never look down on someone who is working hard, because today they may be struggling, but tomorrow they might be the one holding the keys to everything. And when that day comes, character will always matter more than revenge.